Well, joining us now is Gerald Celente of trendsjournal.com. He has been spot on in terms of his predictions of trends and seeing what was going to happen, predicting not just stagflation in the 1970s, but dragflation. But I guess even Gerald didn't think that Trump would be stupid enough to shut down the Strait of Hormuz and recreate something that's even worse than the 1973 OPEC oil embargo. But we're going to talk to Gerald. I want to get his take on whether or not this agreement is going to last. If it does last, will the oil flow? Will we have a return to the status quo ante, or is this something that is going to be the new normal? Because that's basically what happened in 1973. Prices quadrupled and they stayed there and then built upon that. And then what happens to the economy? What happens to gold? All these questions that we've got about this. And I've been anxious to have Gerald Celente on. Thank you for joining us, Gerald.
No, thank you for having me on, and thank you for all that you do. I appreciate it.
Well, thank you.
You know, March 3rd, Trump was asked about Rubio saying that the U.S. attacked Iran because Israel would have attacked first, prompting Iran to strike U.S. targets in region. Trump said, "No, I might have forced their hand. You see, we were having negotiations with these lunatics. And it was my opinion that they were going to attack first. They were going to attack. I felt strongly about that. And based on the way the negotiations are going, I think they were going to attack first. And I didn't want that to happen. So, if anything, I might have forced Israel's hands. But Israel was ready, and we're ready. And we had a very powerful impact. Ready? Because virtually everything they have has been knocked out." That was March 3rd.
Yeah.
2 days after the war.
And of course, we saw that all that was a lie. they keep
lie.
saying that they have knocked everything they got out. We destroyed their Navy. Yeah, you got like 7 ships. Was that their entire Navy? But they still have all the drones and the missiles. And there's not a thing about that in this memorandum of understanding. He's running away, and rightfully so. I'm glad to see that he's running away. And, you know, Rand Paul has said, well, we don't want to criticize him too much because we don't want to have him change course. So people are really pouring the criticism on him are people on Fox News and elsewhere that are completely owned by Israel. And they are really pouring the scorn on Trump. Mark Levin, Ben Shapiro, people of that ilk.
I'm mentioning this also because, again, he said, you see, we were having negotiations with these lunatics. And it was my opinion that they were going to attack first. And that's why we attacked them.
Yeah.
Had nothing to do with the BS that they were going to make nuclear bombs.
That's right. That's right.
Just want to make that clear.
That's right.
And number two, even according to the United States intelligence and all of the other data, and we only could put the data out, Iran was not making nuclear weapons.
That's right. Yeah. The IAEA agreed to that. And when you're talking about they were going to attack us, as Marco Rubio said, they're going to attack us if Israel attacks them. They will attack our bases. So we'll join in with Israel. That's the rationale that Rubio was saying. There was absolutely no rationale for Iran to attack the United States preemptively, especially because they were doing a negotiation. All of it was an improbable lie. It's just like I just talked about how Trump said, oh, all this stuff about $300 million. No, it's $300 billion. He says, that's all just a lie put out by the Democrats, and he can't spell dumb. He's so stupid.
Yep. No, this is serious. This is, here. The deal is that Israel will not withdraw from Lebanon.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
They will keep stealing land in the West Bank and keep slaughtering and stealing more land in Gaza.
That's right. And they've made it very clear. They have no intention of honoring any. So we're not a part of this agreement and everything. Everybody else says, and the agreement says, that they will stop attacking Lebanon. So if they say, well, we're not a part of this agreement and we're not going to stop attacking Lebanon or anybody else that we want to, I don't see this agreement lasting.
Several injured in Israeli strike on southern Lebanon. This just came out before we went on the air. All right?
Yeah.
They're not going to stop.
Nope.
And
just like they're not going to stop with Gaza either, ever.
No. And so there's not going to be a peace deal. This is not going to go anywhere. Trump came out today. This just came out. He said that, quote, it's a memorandum of understanding. And if I don't like it, we'll go back to shooting at them, dropping bombs on their head.
He's an idiot.
Can you how
idiot.
evil it is to say something like that?
Yes, I know.
We'll be dropping bombs on their head. Heil Hitler?
Yeah.
Can imagine, oh my God. Could you imagine if Putin said this?
That's right.
Could you imagine if Putin said, yeah, we got a deal going on with Ukraine, and if I don't like it, we'll go back to shooting at them and dropping bombs on their head. Oh my God. Oh my God. We have to do something to destroy Russia. They got a crazy guy there. That's the crap they would be shoving down our throat if anybody else said that. But no, not a word. Shut the hell up, Celente.
That's right. And then you got Herr Hegseth, the literal Nazi who is out there boasting about the people that he kills, civilians that he kills, people that he kills who have been shipwrecked in the water. It's just amazing to me to see this. And as you point out, any other country did that, everybody would have a fit. And quite frankly, they are having a fit privately over America. We are becoming a pariah state and have become a pariah state in the eyes of everybody in the world, just like Israel, because we have taken their so-called ethics, which are no ethics at all. We have taken their approach to dealing with people, assassinations, sneak attacks. While you come in and say, well, we're going to negotiate with these people. While you're at the negotiating table, you do a sneak attack on their country. These are Israeli tactics. And it's pretty clear that the Israelis have taken over our politicians.
Yep.
I was talking about the memorandum of understanding in it, and part of it was that countries will not interfere in each other's domestic affairs. And I said, well, does that mean that Iran's not going to use the $300 billion that they get to buy our Congress like Israel does? It's just insane. What do you think about this thing that broke last week? We didn't talk last week, but this thing about merging the U.S. military with the IDF. And then even worse, the fact Tom Cotton has come up with this bill that would merge, not merge the intelligence agencies, but it would subordinate us to them. They did it on the 59th anniversary of the attack on the USS Liberty, which is an NSA ship. And under this Tom Cotton thing, you would have an obligation of the president to give all intelligence to Israel. And if he didn't give that to them, then he would have to go to the Senate and he would have to explain to them why he's not giving this intelligence to Israel. So then the Zionists there in the Senate could go tell Israel what the intelligence was anyway. I mean, this is beyond belief to look at what has happened. People have, for the longest time, talked in a derisive term about ZOG, right? Zionist occupied government. There is no question that is what the situation is. That is not hyperbole. That is not anti-Semitism. It is reality to talk about a Zionist occupied government. That is where we are right now.
And let's make this 1,000% clear. Zionism is a made-up political movement by some craphead Theodor Herzl back in the late 1800s, 1890s. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Totally made up political movement. Nothing to do with religion.
Yep.
It's not a religion. And again, I believe in any religion you want. Don't tell me I have to believe in your religion. All right?
Yep.
But again, what's your favorite crusade? This stuff has been going on for centuries.
And originally, the Zionists were not even necessarily looking at the Holy Land, what they called the Holy Land. They were looking at other places out there, right? Yeah. Then they fixed on it and they added religion to it. Yeah. But they just wanted to have a place where they could control, just like Jared Kushner's looking at that island in Albania, right? They got to find some kind of a religious hook to bring into that, because he's getting a lot of resistance for that. So he's going to have to find some way to make a case for it out of the Old Testament, I guess.
Yeah, chapter 6, section 8. Yeah, it's right there.
Yeah, he's going to be section 8. He ought to be driven out for being nuts, like Corporal Klinger. So, it's...
Zionism is made up... Oh, remember little genocide Joe Biden? I'm a proud Zionist.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. So you think that this is all going to fall apart, that it's not
Yeah.
going to go forward. And of course, when I was talking about this, I said, the gun that was being held to Trump's head really was the reality of what's going on with the oil stuff. He can go out there and make these pronouncements about, oh, we got a deal, or we don't have a deal. We got a deal, we don't have a deal. He can manipulate the markets, and he can make money off of the manipulations and so forth. And the Wall Street investors will hang on every word that he has to say. They'll trade on every word that he has to say. But meanwhile, the reality from these oil company executives, Exxon and others, are saying, a few weeks ago, you had the two top guys at Exxon come out and say, we've only got 2 to 3 weeks of oil before, we've been able to pad this with the oil that was on the water already, right? That's being in transit. We've been able to pad it with that, with strategic oil reserves and things like that. But we're looking at a tank bottom that's going to be hitting in about 2 to 3 weeks. And then within a couple of weeks of that, we're going to see a massive spike of oil prices that are going to happen. That's the reality. The reality is that they've been padding this with reserves, and there's a lot of inertia when you shut down the supply chain. You can cut it off at one end, but there's still stuff that's on the conveyor belt, essentially. And what they're saying is we are dealing with the reality of this as a producer, a refiner, and we know that that gravy train's about to end, and we're going to hit this wall. And so that's the question. What do you think is going to happen then? If this agreement doesn't go through, they don't open up the strait, what's going to happen with that wall when they get up to even regular gas, $6 a gallon? Of course, diesel is more expensive, and jet fuel is even more expensive than that.
I think when I say there won't be an agreement, there'll be a fake agreement for a while. Trump will do everything he can to bring down oil prices during the summer when people are traveling.
Mm-hmm.
You got the midterm elections coming up. He's going to do everything in his power to keep a majority in the House and Senate so he could do what he wants to do.
Mm-hmm.
And among the things, you got this guy, Kevin Wash,
mm-hmm.
the new Fed head, another rich kid. What family did he marry into? That big
Estee Lauder, yeah. Estee Lauder, yeah. The guy, his father-in-law is head of the World Jewish Council, and he's out there saying, "We got to put people in jail if we don't like what they have to say."
Yeah. America, huh?
Yeah, that's right.
Again, the United Zionist State of America.
Mm-hmm.
So going back, he's a Trump boy. Before this talk about a peace deal, the bet on the street was that they were going to raise interest rates because inflation is going up so high.
Mm-hmm.
Now they say they're not going to.
Mm-hmm.
Number two, Trump will do everything he can to juice the economy up before the election, which means that they'll probably lower interest rates to juice up the economy before the election.
Mm-hmm.
That's going to bring down the dollar and bring up gold prices.
Mm-hmm.
And again, gold prices went down because this war has cost the whole world.
Yep.
And governments, countries, debt levels were going way up. Their currencies are going way down. They had to sell gold to cover their losses.
Mm-hmm.
This is temporary.
Mm-hmm.
So we're still bullish on. I would have never thought gold would have gone down as much as it has, by the way. But again, only look at the data and why it's happening.
Mm-hmm.
Because now you're seeing more. It was just an article. Let me see if I can find it here about one of the.
Well, I would have never thought that Wall Street would keep on reacting to all these pronouncements from Trump when they're obviously detached from reality, but they're trading on this. And right now, it seems like there's this, as Greenspan said, irrational exuberance that is out there. I think it was Greenspan who said that. At some point, there's going to be a tip. You talked about how we're going to have dragflation. Once the mindset flips from this irrational optimism, it'll flip to an irrational pessimism. And then no matter how good the news is, they're still going to be pessimistic about it.
Yeah, these are two articles. One on the 16th and one today. Singapore bolsters plans to become Asia gold hub.
Mm-hmm.
Central banks repatriate gold.
Yeah.
All right? They're pulling gold out of the United States and London, by the way.
Mm-hmm.
They want it in their own country.
That's right.
This is bullish on gold.
And it's not only are they worried about where the gold is being held, they want to have it where they can, they want to have it nearby, which is basically what all of us as individuals ought to have. We ought to have the stuff nearby in a trusted place, not, distant from us. But
Nope.
they're also talking about the vast majority of central banks. I have the figures here somewhere. See if I can find it. But the vast majority of them are planning to increase their holdings in gold. They're planning to stay about the same in terms of the euro and the Chinese currency. They're going to keep about the same amount of that, but they're going to go down on the dollar. And so they're accumulating gold at the expense of holding U.S. dollars. And that's a trend that we have seen before. That's going to continue, and then they want to hold that gold closer to them, not, as you pointed out, in New York or London.
That's right.
Yeah.
And talking about the impact of the war, this is from the Financial Times yesterday. Economic fallout from war to unfold over years.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Yep.
Yeah. When we look at this,
listen how they wrote this. It was supposed to be a campaign of shock and awe that began when the United States and Israel struck Iran on February 28th. But Iran, having fired thousands of missiles and drones across the Middle East, fought to a stalemate. Thousands have been killed, mostly in Iran and Lebanon, while the economic shockwaves of the conflict, war, and the disruption of shipping channels through the Strait of Hormuz has spread far beyond the Middle East.
Mm-hmm.
And it goes on and on and on, saying how this is costing so much. This one guy said, Research Institute Rystad Energy estimated it would require $58 billion to fix Gulf energy infrastructure damaged and destroyed between February and early April.
Mm. Wow.
So this is serious.
Yeah.
And it's going to get worse. I don't see this ending.
Yeah. Yeah. Jeffrey Tucker at Brownstone had an article where he was talking about the fact if you look at the economic figures, we have had negative growth since Trump shot us in the head with his fake pandemic 6 years ago. We still haven't recovered from that economically. And so this is going to be something that's going to be very similar to that. You and I lived through the 1973 OPEC oil embargo, and that was another consequence of our closest ally, Israel. And you got Jonathan Pollard, the massive traitor to America. He was born as an American, but he betrayed us not just to Israel, but to other countries as well. He was not a principled person by any means. And he's boasting about the fact that Israel blackmailed the U.S. into aiding them in the 1973 war by threatening to nuke Egypt. And he boasts about that. He's done that on multiple podcasts that he's been on. And the consequences of that were the OPEC oil embargo that was directed only against America. And yet, even though it was only against America and it was only 15% of our oil supply, it had global consequences that went on for like another decade. This is something that is not 15% of our, it's 20% of the world's oil supply. And this is something that is not the OPEC oil embargo, it's the Trump oil embargo. And that Trump oil embargo is going to have long-term consequences, as you just pointed out. And
the other thing,
go ahead.
The other thing is also that this is very different than 1973. The United States oil supply, we're the biggest in the world right now.
Mm-hmm.
But thanks to the Nobel Peace of Crap Prize winner, Barack Obama, they did away with the law that prohibited the United States energy companies from exporting our oil. It was embargoed. You weren't allowed to export oil before.
Mm-hmm.
It didn't happen in 2016. So because they say this is the land, the oil's in the land of our country. It's the American people's oil as well. All right, you're making the money on it, fine. But it's also, it's America.
Right. And the Chevron CEO has even said that. Right, he didn't say Obama cleared that away for us, but somebody said, "Well, we got a lot of oil here, don't we?" He goes, "Yeah, but it's a global market." That's what he said, and they didn't explore that with him at all. But that's what he was talking about. In fact, we can, we're not going to. This oil that's here in America isn't going to stay in America, right?
No, but that's what the law was. It has to stay in America.
Mm-hmm.
And the Nobel Peace of Crap Prize winner, a lousy, lying little piece of crap like the rest of them, who lied his way into office as a peace candidate. Hey, as soon as he got in, the Afghan troops surge. Oh, you remember that? Oh, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I want that guy Gaddafi out of there. Oh, yeah, that guy. He's the one that did. I want that guy Assad out of there. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Quote in the book Double Down, I'm really good at killing people.
Yeah. Yeah.
That Obama. He's the one that did it. So now I'm mentioning this because if we weren't exporting the oil price, the gasoline prices and energy prices here would be a lot lower.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. But there isn't much that they can do really with the interest rate manipulations because we owe so much money now. We didn't have that kind of a debt when this all happened in 1973. So the Fed had some opportunity, some wiggle room to manipulate things with the interest rates. And of course, you had Paul Volcker, who took them up. I think he got up to 20% interest rates to get inflation under control. And as you pointed out many times, when they talk and say, well, okay, they're like 2 or 3%, we're going to go up by 0.25% on the interest rates. As you point out, that's absolutely nothing. That's not going to make any change in anything. It is so far below the rate of inflation, it's going to have absolutely no effect on that. And they don't have the ability to really raise them higher because one of the reasons I think that Trump, I want to know what you think about this, but I think Trump is seriously afraid of the fact that if they take interest rates high, he's not going to be able to make the interest rate payments. And they don't want to have a situation where they default on this kind of stuff. And so, the interest rate payments are starting to approach the level of the budget of the Pentagon. That's how big the interest rate payments are on $40 trillion. And we're going to be at $40 trillion by the time the summer is finished. At the rate that they're accumulating it, maybe faster. But certainly by September, we'll be at $40 trillion. And the interest rate on it, that's why he's so sensitive to all this stuff, and he obsesses about it. Because he knows that if they raise the interest rates, that raises the amount that he's got to pay interest on the debt. And it's a tremendous rate that's there. So I think you're right. I think, Israel's going to keep this from happening. And they've got all the guns trained on him on massive media. I mean, a lot of people don't like Trump, don't like the war, so they're criticizing him for this. And I got to guard myself against that because I would like to see peace go through. But certainly there's people going to criticize him because they hated his war or they hate Trump or whatever. But then the people who have been his supporters now, they're owned by Israel. So they're hitting him for all this stuff. So he's going to take massive fire for all this stuff, but they will still kind of dither around, wiggle around, and manipulate things for another 60 days. That's why this memorandum of understanding, I think, is setting up for 60 days. So say, we're still working on it. And they buy themselves time through the summer for 60 days. And then at the end of that, they'll say, there's nothing there. And they'll start the war again.
And going back to interest rates, again, before this war, the bet was that they would, before this so-called peace deal, the bet on the street was that interest rates were going to go up in the United States because of inflation.
Mm-hmm.
And now with this guy Warsh in there, now they're going to, tomorrow we'll find out, of course, or today, is it today or tomorrow anyway, that they're going to keep interest rates where they are.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Trump, I believe, will push Warsh to lower interest rates to juice up the economy before the midterm elections.
Mm. And
that'll bring inflation higher. It'll also bring gold prices higher because the dollar is going to go down more.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So, and you mentioned about the debt level, we said up to 43 trillion. When you look at the real numbers, according to Fortune magazine and others, it's about 120 trillion when you put in Social Security and other government debt.
Yeah. They're already talking about Social Security. Oh, and they can't afford Social Security in 7 years, right?
Yep.
Already starting to talk about that. Yeah. Well, there's another aspect to this, Gerald, and that was on Mises.org. They were talking about, and of course, as Austrian economists, they're very keen on the fact that inflation is coming from monetization, from printing money. Of course, there's price inflation that we have all lived through through the 1973 embargo, and you see it now in the price of fuel and food and things like that. But fundamental inflation is really coming from a growth in the monetary supply. And they point out the monetary supply growth rose year over year in April, making it the 6th month in a row of accelerating growth of the money supply and rising to the largest growth rate in 49 months. In spite of repeated claims from the Federal Reserve that monetary policy is at least moderately restrictive, there's no sign of any slowing in the growth of the money supply. Moreover, overall fragility of the economy suggests the Fed will continue to face political pressure toward easing monetary conditions, likely to ensure that we'll see no real effort at the Fed toward monetary tightening. So when you look at this, the fact that they're growing the monetary side, that's really kind of a surreptitious way of doing this. Everybody looks at the interest rates, and the markets respond to changes in the interest rates. The bond markets, the stock markets, the gold markets, all of them respond to the interest rate changes. And so that's a very important thing. But underneath all this stuff, I mean, they're printing money like crazy. And that is going to be the basis of inflation. And Trump and the Federal Reserve can do this under the radar without anybody noticing it, except Mises. You have some economic journals that'll notice this and talk about it, but the mainstream media is not going to talk about the money supply.
Again, let's go back to the COVID war. That's exactly what they did. That's why we had that inflation. Mm-hmm. Get back in your house. You can't go to work. Mm-hmm. Close down your business. But here's free money, all right? Mm-hmm. All right? They jacked up remember the housing boom that took off?
Oh, yeah. That's right.
All right? All the fake money.
Yeah.
And that's what as we said, they printed trillions of dollars of fake money backed by nothing and printed on nothing.
Yeah. Yeah.
And it's totally forgotten.
Well, the other thing is
what they're talking about.
Yeah. The other thing is that besides going, the largest growth rate in 49 months, it is accelerating, and they're rapidly accelerating it. Year over year, month over month, and they've got the stats here. It's been growth rate has been positive for 21 months in a row, and April's growth rate was the highest since March of 2022. So this is all happening under the radar, and this is the way that they create inflation. Inflation is necessary for them because that's the way that he's going to pay off the debt. They're going to monetize it. They're going to pay it back with cheaper dollars that they're just printing all the time. And this goes back to what Trump was doing in 2020. Massively increasing the money supply, and they're doing the same thing again now. Regardless of what happens with the interest rates that everybody's watching, this growth in the monetary supply underneath it is what's going to create real inflation. And that's why I'm real bullish still on gold, because all the stuff that has made gold go high in terms of central bank purchasing, that's going to go up. In terms of inflation, that's going to go up. And right now, I think it's really kind of a buying opportunity, really, kind of a pause.
No, I would not have thought gold would have gone down as much as it did, just to be clear, because usually the safe haven asset. Mm-hmm. But again, banks and countries had to start selling their gold to cover their debt losses because of the war.
Yeah, it had to use it as a safe haven asset. Yeah,
yep.
They used it for the purpose that people accumulate it for. Absolutely.
But I believe that, I still see gold, silver. And again, I've been, here's my book, Trend Tracking, a lot better than Megatrends, Time Magazine. I started buying gold during the Iran conflict in 1978. And I think it was like $166 an ounce. What was that, 4,300 and something now, right? So I tell people, I don't tell you what to do, but as I see it, particularly younger people, you buy it and you put it away. 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 So when you get to be an older cat or a kitten, you got the dough, because it's going to go way up over those 30, 40 years.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Well, there's an interesting article from Reuters, and they were talking about people melting down luxury watches because of the gold content in it. And this is, even though the price of gold has come off of that high of over $5,000 down to just over $4,000, people are still, the gold and the watches is so much more valuable than the fact that these were, precision watches or whatever, and luxury watches that celebrities would buy and flash around and all that kind of stuff. People are literally melting these things down because they said, if I were to sell this at an auction versus melting down the gold and just selling the gold or the silver that's in it, I make $1,000 more than I would selling it at an auction. So unless it's something that was owned by George Clooney or something, right? You're going to make more if you still make more even at this price level. You're going to make more than what the watch costs. That's kind of an interesting data point because you know that Rolex bought this gold and silver way back, a couple of years ago at least, right? They bought it when it was very cheap, like you're talking about, going back and getting gold when it's so much cheaper a few years ago.
Well, we had one of our top trends for 2024. It was a golden year for gold.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Gold back then was selling for about $1,850 an ounce.
Yeah, man. Those are good old days, right?
Yeah, and then again, now you hit almost 5,600 at one time. So no, we're very bullish on it. The global economy is going down. Gold is number one safe haven. You just saw the data again. It's in your Trends Journal.
Mm-hmm.
The Eurozone's in a recession.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
The UK, negative GDP growth last quarter. I'm sorry. They're not in a recession. Both had negative GDP growth in the last quarter. 2 quarters makes it official recession.
Mm-hmm.
And again, it's going to be dragflation.
Mm-hmm.
Economies are going to go down. Inflation is going to go up. And governments are going to do everything they can to prop up the economies, which means more inflation, fake money. More fake money, the higher gold prices go up. And by the way, remember Trump said last February, we're going to go into Fort Knox to see how much gold they got.
Oh, yeah, right.
Remember that one?
Yeah. Yeah, it's going to be like Al Capone's vault when Geraldo Rivera went in Al Capone's vault to see what was going to be there. Finally going to go into it all these years. And there was nothing there. That's probably what they'd find at Fort Knox as well.
But remember, they said they were going to go there.
Yeah, that's
and
right.
They haven't gone.
Yeah, that's right.
So I believe that, matter of fact, what's his name? Let's see if I have this article here in this week's Trends Journal about Musk saying they're going to go in there again. But if they do go in, they're going to come out with the thing that we got more gold than we ever thought we had.
Mm.
And we just raised the price of gold, and that'll cover our losses.
Yeah.
They'll make something like that as well.
Mm.
But I don't know. But I'm just saying anything goes.
How do we know, right? Because they lie about everything.
They lie about everything.
When I started talking about this memorandum of understanding, Gerald, I said I've got a friend his parents were in Panama, Americans, when he was born. So he has a citizenship both places. And he's stayed in contact with people down there in Panama, and he spends a good amount of time a year down there as well. And when they came up with this agreement about ownership of the Panama Canal and other things that were happening there, Trump was threatening them over that. He put up a memorandum of understanding. They put up a memorandum of understanding in Spanish, and they noticed when the same MOU went up in Washington that it said completely different things. And so the local paper there called them out on it. And when they did that, there was no response from the American government. They just took that down so people couldn't see it. I mean, they lie about everything.
Everything.
They? Yeah.
It's
just amazing.
It's horrible.
Yeah.
I just did a podcast with Judge Napolitano talking about this.
Mm-hmm.
It's not a republic anymore. It's an empire.
Yeah. A regime. Yeah, a regime.
Yeah.
People, I use that term all the time now because an administration is somebody that is exercising stewardship within the responsibility to obey the Constitution, right? That's not this group of people. This is a regime that thumbs its nose at the law where the guy who is in charge of it says, I can do whatever I want. That's a regime. That's not an administration. They're not administering anything except a lot of lies.
What Trump just said at the Geneva meeting. I'm the boss.
Yeah.
I'm the boss.
Yeah.
All you people out there, you're nobody, all right? I'm the boss. You do what I tell you to do. You do what I tell you to do.
Yeah.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, he's a crime lord. That's what he really is.
Yeah.
Yeah,
well said.
Yeah.
So anyway, that's where we see this going. And again, out of the news, by the way, is what's going on with the Ukraine war.
Mm-hmm.
And that just keeps, Trump said he's going to fix that one now too. You're like, hey, you elect me, I'm going to end that war in 24 hours, all right? All
That's
right?
right.
Hey, now that I'm elected, I'm going to end that war before I get inaugurated, all right? How does he get away with this stuff?
Well, next he's going to tell us that he actually ended it, but then they started it again, right?
Yeah.
Because that's kind of the game they're playing with this. You know, you had in Congress, you had some people who were saying, and a lot of them were doing it simply for partisan political purposes, right? Because we know the Democrats probably do the same thing. But they said, wait a minute, you violated the law by you violated the Constitution by not having a declaration, and you even violated our own law of the War Powers Act, where you're supposed to get our authority within 60 days. And I said, oh, it stopped. We got a ceasefire. Yep. And then you had these Democrats who made a case to them and said, well, you say that you've had a ceasefire, but both sides have continued to fire. So it's still a war. It's still going on. I mean, it's just in name only you say you've stopped this. And so they play those kind of semantics with stuff, and it's just a flat out lie.
Yeah, yesterday, Israeli drone kills 4 in South Lebanon, 2 in Gaza. Today, as I said, several injured in Israeli strikes in southern Lebanon.
Yeah.
According to Google it up, it says that Israel violated the November 2024 ceasefire agreement with Lebanon over 10,000 times.
Wow.
Yeah.
Oh. That's what I said. We've adopted their tactics, their lack of ethics, their disregard for morality and the law. We are acting exactly the same way as they have taken over our politicians, and they control the strings. They tell the politicians do what they want. And, of course, what Israel wants is what we see Israel doing. And so now they've got America operating like that without any regard for the law or morality.
The murder that Israel is committing, I got to write about this stuff. You have no idea how sad I get.
Yeah.
I got to read all this stuff. There's an article in this week's Trends Journal in the Israel War section. Palestinian families forced to live among rats in destroyed Gaza. You read about what 70% of it is now taken over by Israel. They bombed the place into ruin. They've driven out over 1 million people out of Lebanon.
And they're targeting civilians. They're targeting civilians.
250,000 people have nowhere. Their homes have been blown to destroyed, bombed to ruin. Could you imagine? How do they get away with this stuff?
I know. And how do we get away with it?
How do they get away with this? And when you come out against it, you're an anti-Semite. Yeah, shove it. Don't want to hear it, Jack.
Yeah.
They're not Semites, by the way. They're Eastern European. Semites are from the Mesopotamia region. But what's his name? Milikowski? Oh, no, it's Netanyahu. I forgot. Yeah. Ben Gurion, oh yeah, he changed his name too. They're all Eastern Europeans running the show.
Yep.
They're not Semites.
And I just read the headline of an op-ed piece on, it wasn't the Jerusalem Post or Haaretz, but it was another one, I think it might have been Ynet or something. And the op-ed piece said, well, if you hate a different group because of their ethnic thing, you mistreat them, and that is racism, and it's deplorable. But if you say that Jews are the same as everybody else, that's anti-Semitism. That was the headline. That was the headline of the article. Yeah. So it is antithetical to everything this country was founded on. I mean, the fundamental Christian principle that this country was founded on was that we are created by God and all men are created equal. And that is the basis of our rights. They deny that people are equal to them. They're the master race. And so it is chosen. Yeah, it's anti-Christian.
They're the chosen people. I'm just a little guinea from the Bronx. What's wrong with you?
That's right. Everything about this, ethnic-based superiority, which is the basis of Zionism. It is a racist entity from the very beginning. But that kind of inherent racism, it is a repudiation of Christianity. It's a repudiation of what the entire New Testament is about. The New Testament says there's no difference between God of men and women or people who are slave or free or people who are Jew or Gentile, right? That's what Christianity says. the current Judaism denies all of that. Zionism denies all of that. It's not just against Jesus as Messiah. It is against the fundamental foundations of Christianity. And it's hard to get Christians to understand that. I mean, Trump's support has dropped. It's one of the stories that I had here. About 80 some odd % of evangelicals voted for the guy in 2024. Go figure. But it dropped from there. By the time we were a year ago, it was down to 60% support. And now it is down to below 50%. And so finally, some of them are starting to catch on as to the criminality of all this and the immorality of what he is doing. But it's hard to say, when you look at this, to read this. Now, they talked to some of the people, and some of the people they talked to, one person, and you know how it is. It's hard to say when they go in and they do a poll, but then they will back it up with an interview of one particular person that they have selected or whatever. Well, the one person that they had that had changed on Trump, they did it over the issues of the war and the murder of civilians and that type of thing, for which I think is a valid reason. But to oppose that. But then the other person I talked to said, well, I can make a case for preemptive strikes from the Bible. It's like, no, you can't. There's no way that you can make a case for that. And then they start going in, and then God gave this land to the people. And he said, that's what it is. You're not coming to this conclusion from what you read from the Bible. You're not coming to this conclusion for what Christ taught. You're coming to this conclusion for what the Zionists have told you, the Bible says. Read it for yourself. And then, the person said, and then I got upset with them. Another person said, I got upset with them because he reduced our entitlement program for something that their daughter had or something. And it's like, there it is. It's about the money, isn't it? It comes back to that. I'm entitled to this money. And if he doesn't give me it, then I don't support him. They don't care about the moral issues, right? And that's where most Americans are. They really don't care. It's just the economy. But the economy is really going to bite him on this stuff.
I tell you, he's going to do everything he can to prop up the economy before the elections.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
He'll do everything he can.
Yeah.
He's done it before, he'll do it again.
Yeah.
So that's what we see. By the way, talking about Zionism, U.S. Ambassador to Israel, Mike Huckabee, spoke this yesterday. Did you read that?
No, I didn't.
Do you know that one?
No. What's he saying now?
At the opening of the International Conference of Israeli Heritage in Judea and Samaria, held in Herodion, Herodion National Park, and emphasized the importance of Israel, you ready? And Jewish heritage for the United States. This is his quote. It is your heritage without a doubt. It is also the heritage of the United States. Without Israel, without the Jewish foundation, there would not be an America.
Yeah, I've heard him say that kind of nonsense. He keeps saying that Judaism is the foundation of America, not Christianity. And he keeps saying that Judaism is the foundation of Christianity. It's like, absolutely not. They're antithetical.
No, you got it
there's
wrong.
no racism in Christianity, not at all.
Now, here's what he says. We owe our very existence. we owe our very existence to what happened in this land to Israel.
Wow.
Right?
Yeah, if you look at it, just think about the fact, would Israel ever have a document that we are celebrating the 250th anniversary of this year? Would they ever have a document that says all men are created equal? They absolutely deny that. They are the master race.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Again,
amazing.
we wrote about it in the Trends Journal 100 times, the Balfour Declaration that they invented in 1917 for the Rothschilds. His Majesty's government declares the land in Israel, the land in Palestine will be settled by the Jewish people, and we will use our best endeavors to achieve this objective.
Yeah.
Rothschild Group went to that. That's who the letter went to from the Balfour.
Well, it's very easy to debunk this stuff if you look at history. If you look at the Bible, it's easy to debunk it. But if you just look at the principles and what they're doing right now, right, you can debunk them ethnically, right? And so you can debunk all these different things that they have done there, whether it's their ethnic claims or whether it's their biblical claims or historical claims. None of that carries any weight. But the bottom line is you only have to look at what they're doing right now, and let's end the story. There's no way to support that. And the only thing that Huckabee is right about is that modern America really is built not on the foundations of the Declaration of Independence, not on the Christian principles of the Declaration of Independence. Modern America that he represents is based on the attitudes and the immorality of Judaism that you see there. That's what it's really based on right now, because we're acting just like them. We assassinate people. We violate our agreements with them. We attack them while we're negotiating with them. I mean, that is their values. That's not the values of the founders of this country. And the entangling alliances. I mean, can you imagine George Washington spinning in his grave, seeing the merger of U.S. and Israeli military? And that doesn't make any sense with any country. To do that with military, to do that with the intelligence agencies.
Well, wait, let's go back to Obama.
Yeah.
Go back to Obama. He's the one that started giving Israel $3.8 billion of our money every year.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
So it's been going on forever. This is just another element of it.
Yep. It's just going under radar with it, really.
The cover of this week's Trends Journal magazine. Eisenhower. Any man who wants to be president is either an egomaniac or crazy.
Or both.
And then we have Trump. His quote, I really have a big ego. So we got big ego Trump, a maniac, and by his deeds, he's taco crazy.
That's right. Well, I've been saying for a long time.
According to Eisenhower, we have an egomaniac that's crazy.
Yeah, I agree. I've been saying for the longest time, he doesn't do economics, he does egonomics. He doesn't do geopolitics, he does ego politics.
Perfect. Egomaniac. Egomaniac.
Yeah, I guess when it gets to the G7, they put out a message, the ego has landed, right?
No, it's terrible. Again, it's heartbreaking to see what our money and our support is doing to slaughter the Palestinian and Lebanese people.
Yeah.
Right in front of everybody's eyes and nobody cares. Hey, how about the Knicks? That's the big news, by the way.
Oh, yeah, yeah. Yeah, the curse
like this, because they won, everything's going to change in New York now. Like, grow up. What are you talking about?
What I saw was, the curse of Trump, right? He was the one who caused them to lose. It's like, yeah, there is a curse of Trump. And it's a lot worse than one team losing a game. We're losing the entire country, and we've lost the respect of the entire world, and rightfully so, for having somebody like that in power and allowing them to remain in power. That's the insanity of all this. Well, we're just about out of time. Before we run out of time, I want to remind people that you can save 10% off of Gerald's wonderful Trends Journal. Again, a comprehensive... Excuse me, I had to sneeze there. It's a comprehensive survey of what's really happening here, the long-term trends. Nobody can predict accurately what the price of anything is going to be the next day or so, but we can look at these trends and we can see what's going to be happening with the economy. And Gerald has been spot on. You've been a guest, regular guest of mine for a long time, going back to when my show started back in 2017. So nearly a decade now. Wow. We've been talking like every couple of weeks. And Gerald has been spot on with all this stuff. And I really do appreciate you coming on and sharing that with my audience. It's very valuable, what you have to say. And I appreciate your dedication to peace. I wish we had more Christians who are dedicated to peace. It's just amazing. But thank you so much, Gerald. I appreciate it. Thank you.
And thank you for all that you do. I really enjoy being on with you, and you're one of a kind. Thank you so much for what you're doing.
Oh, that's really kind. Thank you. And thank you, folks, for supporting the program, and thank you for tuning in. Have a good day. We will see you tomorrow. Thank you, Gerald. The common man. They created Common Core to dumb down our children. They created Common Pass to track and control us. Their Commons Project to make sure the commoners own nothing. And the communist future. They see the common man as simple, unsophisticated, ordinary. But each of us has worth and dignity created in the image of God. That is what we have in common. That is what they want to take away. Their most powerful weapons are isolation, deception, intimidation. They desire to know everything about us while they hide everything from us. It's time to turn that around and expose what they want to hide. Please share the information and links you'll find at davidknightshow.com. Thank you for listening. Thank you for sharing. If you can't support us financially, please keep us in your prayers. davidknightshow.com.